What's going on, everybody? Welcome in the Vikings Now by Chat Sports. My name is Patrick Siepman, and coming up on today's show, the Minnesota Vikings continue to get disrespected this NFL offseason, and the disrespect today is coming in from PFF. They're going over some of their top head coaches, their top defensive lines, their top receiving cores in the NFL, and the Vikings were incredibly disrespected on all of these lists. So we'll talk about all that and more on today's show. But before we dive into it, I love asking you guys this. Name a random Vikings player down below in the comments section. So I'm not talking about like Randy Moss, Justin Jefferson, even the guys like Sam Darnold and J.J. McCarthy. Get weird with this. Think of the most random Viking you can think of. For me, the two that always pop in my head are Sidney Rice and Phil Loadholt. Phil Loadholt, one of my favorite Vikings players of all time, but you guys could even go like a Terrence Newman, Captain Munnerlyn, any of these guys. So get weird for me and name a random Vikings player down below. All right, so PFF, they were coming out with these lists. It's the dog days of the NFL calendar, and they're just ranking, some of the top defensive lines in the league. And the Vikings, we're not in the top 5. We're not in the top 10. And also, we're not in the top 15. I was stunned when I saw this list. But they got the Pittsburgh Steelers coming in at number 1, reigning Super Bowl champ, Philadelphia Eagles at number 2, New York Giants at number 3, Houston Texans at number 4. I have no issue with the top 4 teams on this list. I think if I had to rank my top 4 defensive lines in the league, it's probably those 4. But then I have some question marks, like the Buffalo Bills, the Detroit Lions at number 6. I understand Aleem McNeil, Aiden Hutchinson getting healthy. They have a decent unit, but does it compare to the Vikings? I don't think so. And then they got the Cleveland Browns, Denver Broncos, Los Angeles Rams, Baltimore Ravens, and then even 11 to 15. The Vikings aren't on this either. The Miami Dolphins, the Dallas Cowboys, the New England Patriots are number 13, and same with the Tennessee Titans and the Kansas City Chiefs. So you're telling me, according to PFF, what I thought was the backbone of this Vikings team, a team that just won 14 games, that defensive line is not a top 15 unit in the NFL this upcoming season? I don't understand that. And plus, with the additions they made of Javon Hargrave, Jonathan Allen, you got some potential superstars that barely played last year, and a guy like Dallas Turner, and the Vikings come in at number 16 on this list. Like, I was truly stunned when I saw this. Listen, I know I'm a big homer with the Vikings. Like, I drink way too much purple Kool-Aid. I mean, you guys in the comment section, let me know about that all the time. But them not being in the top 10 of this list, I think is criminal. And the fact that they are in the top 15, I think is just a joke. But why did PFF rank them at 16 is what they had to say. If edge rusher Dallas Turner can develop further in his second season, the Vikings could own a top edge defender group. Turner, Minnesota's first-round pick last year, ranked 63rd with a 64.1 PFF overall grade in 2024. It might not be easy for him to get on the field, though, as Jonathan Grenard, 81.1 PFF overall grade, and Van Ginkel at a 71.4 were among the 33 highest-graded edge defenders last season. And then they just throw this in there. On the interior, the Vikings will look for veteran additions, Javon Hargrave and Jonathan Allen, to find their old form. I understand Hargrave and Jonathan Allen aren't who they were when they were in the primes of their careers. But if you go turn on the tape, especially what Jonathan Allen did in the divisional round versus the Detroit Lions when he was with the Commanders, he completely wrecked that game. He still has a lot left in the tank. And also these guys, it's not like we're just banking on those two. Like, they got to carry that unit. You still got Harrison Phillips. You still got Jalen Redmond. Even the guy you drafted in the 5th round, Tyrion Ingram-Dawkins, like, he's got star potential. I don't understand this whatsoever. And this defensive line, it was the backbone of this team last season that won 14 games. The Vikings were top 3 in pressures, top 5 in sacks. They were one of the best defensive lines in the league. Now, on the interior, which was a massive issue, could they win one-on-one matchups at a high level? Not necessarily. But that's why you go bring in a Hargrave and a Jonathan Allen. And I would just say to PFF, look at this graphic and tell me this is the 16th best defensive line in the league. Because this will probably be the look Vikings give other teams on third downs. Where you got Jonathan Grenard, Van Ginkel, Dallas Turner. Those would be the 3 stand-up edge rushers. Probably, one of them may drop in the coverage, either Van Ginkel or Turner. But could you imagine if they just blitz all 5 of these guys and you got 6 guys dropping back in the coverage? They'll all, at least 4 of them, will probably get a one-on-one matchup, and I'm banking on one of those winning it. Like, I just don't understand this. And I think this is just brand bias yet again, where people And it's so funny. Like, even when you hear these big time media heads talk about the Vikings, you know, they won't even mention what they did this offseason. They forget they got Ryan Kelly, Will Fries, Jonathan Allen, Javon Hargrave. Like, they just forget what this team has done. It's one of the most stacked defensive lines in the league. It's deep. It's got top end talent. And also, I think this stems back to Jonathan Grenard being criminally underrated. He was fantastic for the Vikings last season. He carried that group. He got double teamed at an all-time rate last year, and he's still able to produce 12 and a half sacks. I think with now having Allen and Hargrave on the interior, he should get a lot more one-on-one opportunities. Again, people are just sleeping on the Minnesota Vikings. But I'll ask you guys this. The Vikings have the blank best defensive line in the NFL. I'd probably slot them in at around that 6, 7, 8 range. Now, it obviously depends if Dallas Turner ends up popping. If he does, I think the Vikes will have the 5th best defensive line in the league this upcoming season behind the Steelers, Eagles, Giants, and Texans. But you guys let me know. Vikes have the blank best defensive line in the NFL. Now, this is the one that really grinds my gears here. PFF was coming out with their top 10 head coaches heading into the next season, and they completely disrespected Kevin O'Connell, or maybe they just forgot about KOC. This was their top 10 list. Andy Reid, no problems whatsoever. Sean Payton at number 2. Sean Payton, an elite offensive mind. I think he's one of the most overrated coaches in NFL history. Guy won 1 Super Bowl with Drew Brees. Whatever, not going to spend too much time on him. I think it is criminal, though, that you have Sean McVay at number 3. He should be number 2. Honestly, if somebody said, I think McVay's the best head coach in the league, even over Andy Reid, I could hear you out on that argument. But then you got some guys in the AFC North. John Harbaugh, cool. He can be ahead of Kevin O'Connell. But Mike Tomlin, this guy's 0-6 in his last 6 playoff games. People always give KOC a hard time about that. How we keep that same energy with Tomlin? Then you got Jim Harbaugh. He's just had 1 year with the Chargers, and he's already top 6 head coach in the league, according to them. Shanahan, number 7. That's cool if you want to have him over KOC. Sirianni, guy just won a Super Bowl. Even though I would take Kevin O'Connell over Sirianni, whatever, you can list him ahead of KOC. Then Dan Campbell, fine. The Lions have owned the Vikings. But number 10, and I hate doing this, I love Kevin Stefanski. It is absolutely criminal that you would have Stefanski rated over Kevin O'Connell. Stefanski's an awesome offensive mind. And has Stefanski been dealt a favorable hand so far being the head coach for the Browns? Absolutely freaking not. But what KOC has done with some mid-level quarterbacks, with Darnold, Kirk Cousins, and having them play like top 10 quarterbacks in the league when they were with KOC, I think he is, like, that's enough reason to put him in the top 10 list. And also, he won Coach of the Year last year. So if the Vikes have the 16th best defensive line in the league and they don't even have a top 10 head coach, how did the Vikings win 14 games? Like, seriously, like, if you ask PFF, why did the Vikes win 14 games? I would love to know their answer. Was it all because of Justin Jefferson? Well, it also might not be, because we'll talk about the top receiving cores coming up here in a second. But let's show KOC some love. I think he's one of the best head coaches in the league. He may go down as the best head coach in Vikings franchise history. QB whisper, elite offensive mind, still 39 years old. Think about that. Like, we should have Kevin O'Connell be our head coach for the next, potentially 20 years for us Vikings fans. But give me a KOC down below in the comments section, and we'll talk about what else PFF had to say here in a second. But we got a sweet deal going on for you Vikings fans right now. And if you guys head over to chatsports.com/Vikings combo, you guys can get this t-shirt combo. You get 2 Vikings t-shirts for only $29.99. These are normally $49.99, but they got a sweet deal going on for you Vikings fans. So click that link, chatsports.com/Vikings combo. That'll be in the description and comment section of today's show. All right, so let's close it out here talking about the Vikings' weapons, the bread and butter of this football team, one of their biggest strengths, but PFF doesn't think so. So they were going over the top 10 receiving cores in the NFL. So this is including the tight end position. You got the Eagles at 1. Cool. Not disputing that. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, I think that's the best wide receiver duo in the league. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they got all types of weapons. No problem there. Same with the Bengals. But the Detroit Lions at number 4, I got a problem with that. I understand Amon-Ra St. Brown's a tremendous wide receiver, but he is nowhere near Justin Jefferson. And then their second guy, J-Mo, I don't think he can, compete with Jordan Addison. And then at number 5, the San Francisco 49ers. How do you possibly have the 49ers as the 5th best receiving core in the NFL? They lost Debo. Brandon Ayuk's coming off a torn ACL. George Kittle is fantastic. I like Ricky Pearsall. But to say they have a better receiving core than the Vikings, I think is criminal. And then they do have the Vikes at number 6. But then, Miami Dolphins at 7. Cool. Honestly, I think the Rams are the most disrespected team on this list. I mean, I think they have the second best wide receiver duo in the league, behind the Eagles with Devontae Adams and Puka Nacua. Then I'll put the Vikings in at 3rd there. And the Bears at 9, Texans at 10. I ask again, the PFF, how the hell did the Vikings win 14 games? And this wasn't like the Vikings winning 14 games last season, where it was like in the 2022 year, where it was a bunch of one-score victories. A couple miracles happened that season, whatever. Last year, the Vikings were actually dismantling teams. They lost to 2 football teams the entire year, the Rams and the Lions, 2 of the best teams in the league. I ask again, how did the Vikings win 14 games? And I actually do want to share this with you guys. One of my favorite scriptures out there, John 13:7. You do not realize now what I am doing, but later you will understand. That should be directly headed towards PFF. They may not know now what the Vikings are cooking over there in Minnesota, but after this season, when they see it all come together again, and Kevin O'Connell is going to win 12-plus games for the 3rd time in 4 seasons, maybe he'll be a good head coach in their eyes. But I think it's a pretty obvious answer to this question. Are the Vikings the most disrespected team in the NFL? Give me a Y for yes. Give me an N for no. You guys let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Also, hit me up on Twitter at Pat Sieps. We'll see you guys next time. As always, let's go Vikes.